Today is day 3 for the Come Follow Me study for this week, May 4th through the 10th. Rebel not ye against the Lord, neither fear. Numbers 11 through 14, 20 through 24, and 27. Wednesday, May 6th, 2026, Numbers 13. The Old Testament has some stories of great and marvelous men and women. Abraham, Sarah, Ruth, Moses, Adam, Eve, Enoch, and many others provide inspiration to all who desire to achieve true greatness. But the Old Testament also records many tragedies. The tragedy was not so much in what happened, but in what was lost, in what could have been, compared to what was. King David lost his exaltation because of his foolish attempt to cover his sin of adultery through murder. Saul, called by the Lord to be the first king of Israel, soon forgot who was the true king and ended his life in a frantic search for tranquility. Samson had unusual powers given him, and yet he wasted them in frivolous and self-centered actions. In this section, you will study another Old Testament tragedy, but in this case, it was a national tragedy. The Israelites had been led out of the power of the greatest empire in the world at that time. They had been personal witnesses to plagues that afflicted the Egyptians but left Israel untouched. They had, with their own hands, smeared blood on the doorways of their homes and then heard the cries of the Egyptians as their firstborn fell. They had walked between towering walls of water that divided at the command of Moses, then watched as those walls collapsed on the armies of the Pharaoh. They ate bread that miraculously appeared each morning, drank water gushing from a rock, felt Sinai quake, and saw it glow with fire. What people in all of history had greater witness that God was with them and would use his unsurpassable power in their behalf? They had so much and were promised so much more. Then came the choice. In one foolish, blind, faithless choice, this generation of Israel lost it all. Now read the tragedy of Israel. It should make every righteous soul of every age weep for these foolish people. Look into your own heart and see if the tragedy of Israel could not be repeated in your own life. At this point in history, Israel was just a few months out of Egypt, and they had been given the law of God. The Lord indicated that it was then time to go in and possess the promised land. He commanded that a reconnaissance group be sent into Canaan to reconnoiter the land. The evidence of the richness of the land was irrefutable, and the spies even brought back a cluster of grapes carried on a staff between two men to demonstrate the beauty and richness of the produce. Yet the spies, except for Joshua and Caleb, reported that despite the richness of the land, there was no hope of driving out the inhabitants. The exaggerated tone of their negative report shows in the very use of such words as very great. The land eateth up the inhabitants thereof. All the people are men of great stature. We saw the giants. We were as grasshoppers. Such an exaggerated report of itself was bad enough and demonstrated the lack of faith of the 10 men who gave it. But the national tragedy began when Israel hearkened to their report. They openly rejected the numerous evidences of God's power that had been almost daily fare and began to cry out that it would have been better for them never to have left Egypt. Nor did the murmuring stop there. A movement was started to reject Moses and choose a leader that would take them back to Egypt, which suggests that they actually chose the leaders who would take them back. When Joshua and Caleb tried to counteract the effect of the negative report, the congregation sought to have them stoned. Little wonder that the anger of the Lord was kindled. In a great intercessory prayer, Moses pleaded for mercy for his people. He did not excuse the behavior of his people, but only emphasized the long-suffering mercy of the Lord. Israel was spared destruction, but lost the privilege of immediately entering the promised land. For the next 38 years, they were to wander in the harsh wilderness of Sinai. During that time, they could have conquered the inhabitants of the land of promise, built cities, eaten the fruit of the land flowing with milk and honey, and raised their children in comfort and peace. But they would not. And so, all above the age of 20, who had repudiated the power of the Lord, except Joshua and Caleb, were to die in the wilderness. As you read Numbers 13 through 14, try to put yourself in the place of the Israelites. Why do you think they wanted to return into Egypt? How could you describe the other spirit Caleb had? What impresses you about the faith of Caleb and Joshua? And how might you apply their examples to situations you face? Numbers 13. Moses sends 12 spies to search the land of Canaan. Numbers 13, 1 through 16. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Send thou men, that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel. Of every tribe of their fathers shall ye send a man, every one a ruler among them. And Moses by the commandment of the Lord sent them from the wilderness of Paran. All those men were heads of the children of Israel. And these were their names of the tribe of Reuben: Shemua the son of Zachar. Of the tribe of Simeon, Shaphat the son of Hori. Of the tribe of Judah, Caleb the son of Jephunneh. Of the tribe of Issachar, Igal the son of Joseph. Of the tribe of Ephraim, Oshai the son of Nun. Of the tribe of Benjamin, Palti the son of Raphu. Of the tribe of Zebulun, Gadiel the son of Sodi. Of the tribe of Joseph, namely of the tribe of Manasseh, Gadi the son of Susi. Of the tribe of Dan, Amiel the son of Jamali. Of the tribe of Asher, Sethur the son of Michael. Of the tribe of Naphtali, Habi the son of Vophsi. Of the tribe of Gad, Guel the son of Maki. These are the names of the men which Moses sent to spy out the land. And Moses called Oshai the son of Nun, Yehoshua. The Lord instructed Moses to send a leader from each tribe to search the land of Canaan. Moses changed the name of the leader of the tribe of Ephraim from Oshai, meaning salvation, to Joshua, meaning Jehovah is salvation. This change may have been a reminder to the Israelites that God was leading them, and that they could obtain the promised land through his power. Centuries later, the same name would be given to the Son of God. President Russell M. Nelson taught Mary and Joseph did not need to be taught the deep significance of the name Jesus, the Hebrew root from which it was derived, Jehoshua, meaning Jehovah is salvation. So the mission of Jehovah, soon to be named Jesus, was salvation, and his supreme destiny was to become the Savior of the world. Numbers 13, 17 through 20. And Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan, and said unto them, Get you up this way southward, and go up into the mountain, and see the land, what it is, and the people that dwelleth therein, whether they be strong or weak, few or many, and what the land is that they dwell in, whether it be good or bad, and what cities they be that they dwell in, whether in tents or in strongholds, and what the land is, whether it be flat or lean, whether there be wood therein or not. And be ye of good courage, and bring of the fruit of the land. Now the time was the time of the first ripe grapes. 10 of them bring an evil report, telling only of the strength of the inhabitants. Numbers 13, 21 through 30. And they went up and searched the land from the wilderness of Zin unto Rehob, as men come to Hamath. And they ascended by the south, and came unto Hebron, where Ahiman, Sheshai, and Talmai, the children of Anak, were. Now Hebron was built 7 years before Zoran in Egypt. And they came unto the brook of Eshcol, and cut down from thence a branch, with one cluster of grapes. And they bare it between two upon a staff. And they brought of the pomegranates and of the figs. The place was called the brook Eshcol, because of the cluster of grapes, which the children of Israel cut down from thence. And they returned from searching of the land after 40 days. And they went and came to Moses and to Aaron and to all the congregation of the children of Israel, unto the wilderness of Paran, to Kadesh, and brought back word unto them, and unto all the congregation, and showed them the fruit of the land. And they told him and said, We came unto the land whither they sendest us, and surely it floweth with milk and honey, and this is the fruit of it. Nevertheless, the people be strong that dwell in the land, and the cities are walled, and very great. And moreover, we saw the children of Anak there. The Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, and the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea, and by the coast of Jordan. And Caleb stilled the people before Moses and said, Let us go up at once and possess it, for we are well able to overcome it. President Spencer W. Kimball said the majority of the search party gave a very discouraging report on the promised land and its inhabitants. Although they found a land that was beautiful and desirable and flowing with milk and honey, they also found that the cities were walled and formidable, and that the people, the sons of Anak, looked like giants. The Israelite scouts said that they felt like grasshoppers in comparison. Caleb, however, saw things a little differently. With what the Lord called another spirit, and his account of the journey and their challenges was quite different. He said, Let us go up at once and possess their land, for we are well able to overcome it. Joshua and Caleb were men of great faith, and they joined in urging that the Israelites go immediately to the promised land. The prophet Joseph Smith said, I prophesy that that man who tarries after he has an opportunity of going will be afflicted by the devil. Wars are at hand. We must not delay, but are not required to sacrifice. We ought to have the building up of Zion as our greatest object. When wars come, we shall have to flee to Zion. The cry is to make haste. The last revelation says, Ye shall not have time to have gone over the earth until these things come. It will come as did the cholera, war, fires, and earthquakes, one pestilence after another, until the Ancient of Days comes. Then judgment will be given to the saints. President Spencer W. Kimball continued, The Lord decreed that before Israel could enter the land of Canaan, all of the faithless generation who had been freed from bondage must pass away. All go into eternity. All except Joshua and Caleb. For their faith, they were promised that they and their children would live to inhabit the promised land. Doctrine and Covenants 45. Zion, a city reserved until a day of righteousness shall come, a day which was sought for by all holy men. And they found it not because of wickedness and abominations, and confessed they were strangers and pilgrims on the land, but obtained a promise that they should find it and see it in their flesh. Wherefore, hearken, and I will reason with you, and I will speak unto you and prophesy, as unto men in days of old. And I will show it plainly, as I showed it unto my disciples as I stood before them in the flesh, and spake unto them, saying, As ye have asked of me concerning the signs of my coming, in the day when I shall come in my glory, in the clouds of heaven, to fulfill the promises that I have made unto your fathers. Joseph Smith translation for Luke 21. Verily I say unto you, this generation, the generation when the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled, shall not pass away until all be fulfilled. Doctrine and Covenants 45. And there shall be men standing in that generation that shall not pass until they shall see an overflowing scourge, because a desolating sickness shall cover the land. Elder Bruce R. McConkie wrote, Question. Does or will anyone know when the Lord will come? Answer. As to the day and hour, no. As to the generation, yes. Question. Who shall know the generation? Answer. The saints, the children of light, those who can read the signs of the times, those who treasure up the Lord's word, so they will not be deceived, will know the generation. Do we know when Christ shall come again, to take vengeance on the ungodly and to reign on earth in love and peace for the space of 1,000 years? It is generally assumed we do not have any such information on as this, that such has not and will not be revealed. The fact is we do know. That is, we know in general when his coming shall be. We do not know the day nor the hour. And for that matter, neither do the angels of God in heaven. But we do know the time and the season. That is, we know the approximate time. Shall we say, the generation of his return? Paul's illustration here is perfect. The second coming is compared to a woman about to give birth to a child. She does not know the hour or the minute of the child's arrival, but she does know the approximate time. There are signs which precede and presage the promised arrival, and so it is with our Lord's coming. He shall come as a thief in the night, unexpectedly and without warning, to the world, to those who are in spiritual darkness, to those who are not enlightened by the power of the Spirit. But his coming shall not overtake the saints as a thief, for they know and understand the signs of the times. President Wilford Woodruff taught that we do know the generation when he will come. He said, "But one thing is certain, though the Lord has not revealed the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man shall come, he has pointed out the generation. And the signs predicted as the forerunners of that great event have begun to appear in the heavens and on the earth, and they will continue until all is consummated." Elder Bruce McConkie said, "I was once praying very earnestly to know the time of the coming of the Son of Man," the prophet Joseph Smith recorded on April 2nd, 1843. 4 days later, April 6, 1843, at the General Conference of the Church, while the Spirit rested upon him, the prophet said, "Were I going to prophesy, I would say the end would not come in 1844, 5 or 6, or in 40 years. There are those of the rising generation who shall not taste death till Christ comes." The rising generation is the one that has just begun. Thus, technically, children born on April 6, 1843 would be the first members of the rising generation. And all children born, however many years later, to the same parents, would still be members of that same rising generation. It is not unreasonable to suppose that many young men had babies at the time of this prophecy, and also had other children as much as 50 or 75 years later, assuming, for instance, that they were married again to younger women. This very probable assumption would bring the date up to, say, the second decade in the 20th century, and the children so born would be members of that same rising generation of which the prophet spoke. Now, if these children lived to the normal age of men generally, they would be alive well past the year 2000 AD. Read these inspired statements in connection with the signs of the times, which we can interpret. It is plain that the day of the coming of the Son of Man is not far distant. President Joseph F. Smith said, "The day of the coming of the Lord is near. I do not know when. I am not looking, however, upon the coming of the Son of Man as I looked once upon the day when men would speak from city to city and throughout the land without the aid of wires, and would be heard, as something that may come in some far distant time, because I sincerely believe it will come in the very day when some of us who are here today, April 5th, 1936, will be living upon the face of the earth. That day is close at hand." President George Q. Cannon said, "I do fear that we will defer the redemption of Zion indefinitely through our unwillingness to do the things that God requires at our hands. I have not an earthly doubt that this revelation given in 1834 would have been fulfilled to the very letter had our people obeyed the Lord as he desired. Neither do I believe now that the redemption of Zion will be long deferred if the people will obey the Lord and keep his commandments. But the difficulty is, our hearts are hard and almost impenetrable in many instances. Let us labor continually for the redemption of Zion, and for the time when the promises which God has made to Zion will be fulfilled, that we may build the center stake of Zion and rear the house of the Lord there. There are men standing in this generation that will see it accomplished. But we do not want it put off to the very last. Let us all strive to fit and qualify ourselves and our families by obeying the commandments of God to the fullest extent, so that we and our families may be remembered among those who shall be counted worthy to take part in the glorious work of redeeming Zion and enjoying the blessings thereof." President Spencer W. Kimball continued, 45 years after the 12 men returned from their exploration of the land of promise, when the new generation of Israel, under the leadership of Joshua, was completing its conquest of Canaan, Caleb spoke to Joshua, 40 years old was I when Moses the servant of the Lord sent me to espy out the land, and I brought him word again, as it was in mine heart. Nevertheless, my brethren that went up with me made the heart of the people melt. But I wholly followed the Lord my God. And now behold, the Lord hath kept me alive, as he said, these 45 years. even since the Lord spake this word unto Moses, while the children of Israel wandered in the wilderness. And now, lo, I am this day 85 old. As yet I am as strong this day as I was in the day that Moses sent me, at least in the spirit of the gospel, and its call and needs. As my strength was then, even so is my strength now, both to go out and to come in. From Caleb's example, we learn very important lessons. Just as Caleb had to struggle and remain true and faithful to gain his inheritance, so we must remember that while the Lord has promised us a place in his kingdom, we must ever strive constantly and faithfully so as to be worthy to receive the reward. Caleb concluded his moving declaration with a request and a challenge with which my heart finds full sympathy. The Anakims, the giants, were still inhabiting the promised land, and they had to be overcome. Said Caleb, now at 85 years, give me this mountain. This is my feeling for the work at this moment. There are great challenges ahead of us, giant opportunities to be met. I welcome that exciting prospect and feel to say to the Lord humbly, give me this mountain. Give me these challenges. Humbly I give this pledge to the Lord and to you, my beloved brothers and sisters, fellow workers in this sacred cause of Christ. I will go forward with faith in the Lord of Israel, knowing that he will guide and direct us and lead us, finally, to the accomplishment of his purposes and to our promised land and our promised blessings. Numbers 13:31-33. But the men that went up with him said, we be not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they brought up an evil report of the land which they had searched unto the children of Israel, saying, the land through which we have gone to search it is a land that eateth up the inhabitants thereof. And all the people that we saw in it are men of a great stature. And there we saw the giants, the sons of Anak, which came of the giants, and we were in our own sight as grasshoppers, and so we were in their sight. The 10 unbelieving spies referred to the sons of Anak as giants, when they gave reasons why they felt Israel could not conquer the promised land. The sons of Anak may have been related to the people of Rapha, from whom Goliath descended. Giants are mentioned in the accounts of both Enoch and Noah. Both accounts indicate that the giants were enemies to God and his prophets. While the word giant generally refers to someone large in stature, the Hebrew word translated as giants in Genesis 6:4, Nephilim, can also mean fallen ones. It is not clear if these people were large in stature, and the term may simply have been a description of their fallen spiritual state. Elder Marky Peterson said, the Nephilim were described as giants. How big we do not know. Were they like Goliath? In any case, the giants who lived in Enoch's day were a depraved lot who sought to murder him.